If you're trying to invest your SRS, I have always recommended two platforms. Number one, Stashaway. Number two, Poems Cash Plus. So it has been 6 months since my journey started with Stashaway, and this time around, it's finally time to compare these two platforms, which one is better. And for the context of this review, it is not sponsored by any of them, so it is my objective review just to go head to head, which one is more suitable for you. And to be clear, I'm only talking about SRS investing. So not cash, not CPF, just SRS. Because for SRS, which stands for Supplementary Retirement Scheme, some of you have contributed last year, some of you have contributed this year, and you all want to start investing, but you all don't know which one to pick. Because the fact is, if you just leave all your SRS money untouched in the SRS bank account, it's just going to earn you 0.05%. So the purpose of SRS is never to leave it idle, but to deploy it into investments intentionally. But before you choose which SRS platform to go for, I think it's more important to know what kind of investment product you are going for. So I'm here to give you this holistic and objective review. But some of you may ask about CPF investing. So I want to be clear that this review is not about CPF investing because Stashaway does not support CPF investing as of now. Poems Cash Plus does support CPF investing, but that's already covered in another video. So the fact is, if you just want to consolidate your CPF and SRS orders on one platform, Poems may already be the winner for you. But if you just want to look at SRS, is Stashaway a better option? Then you need to look further on this video. So like I said, before you choose your platform for SRS investing, it's important to know what kind of product are you going for. So specifically for this video, I'm just going to talk about equity funds, index funds, ETFs if possible. I'm not going to talk about individual stocks because that's stock picking, which I'm not a fan of. So the two index funds that we are going for, number one is S&P 500, which is very familiar to all of you, that tracks the largest companies listed in the United States public markets. And the other one is a global equity portfolio, where it tracks more like a world index and more diversified across the world rather than just focusing on US markets. So for S&P 500 exposure on Stashaway, you have this ETF called CSPX, which is the S&P 500 Ireland domiciled UCITS ETF listed by BlackRock iShares. Then on Poems, you have this Amundi Prime USA Unit Trust, which tracks the large and mid cap of the US market index. This is a Luxembourg domiciled unit trust. Why does this matter? Later we'll go on. Then for global equities exposure on Stashaway ETF Explorer, we have ISAC, which is the Ireland domiciled UCITS ETF for MSCI All Country World Index. Then for Poems Cash Plus, we have the Amundi Index MSCI Fund. But just this fund alone is not enough because it's lacking emerging markets. So you also need to add the Amundi Emerging Markets Fund. A good balance will be 90% Amundi Index MSCI plus 10% Amundi Emerging Markets. This is what is highlighted on Money Owl. I will invest based on an aggressive 100% portfolio. And if you're new here, my name is Chris, an ex-chartered accountant, now a personal finance YouTuber. So do follow me on my Instagram. It only has 4,000 followers right now. So thank you to those who followed. Now we move on to the actual comparison of the key differences. How should you choose each product or each platform? Firstly, it's the cost of trading because cost is guaranteed and profit is not guaranteed. So for Stashaway ETF Explorer, which is the one that you use for SRS investing, it costs $1 per order. And you also have to add a 0.32 FX conversion spread when you convert your SRS in SGD to become USD in order to buy the UCITS ETFs. But the trading fee can also be lowered to $0 with the regular investing advantage. That is if you're buying the same fund in the same portfolio every month. So month 1, you pay $1. Month 2, if you buy and invest in the same portfolio, you will not be charged. It's $0. That's the regular investing advantage feature on Stashaway ETF Explorer. So I would say this is quite useful and to encourage people to dollar cost average using the regular savings plan of their SRS. For Poems, it is really zero charge. There's no sales charge, there's no platform fee, there's no switching costs. So it does not matter whether you lump sum buy or you dollar cost average every month. It will just be zero. And the zero switching cost is quite interesting because that's something that I've been experimenting on, and I'll be covering this in another video on the switching cost. So comment switch if you are interested to hear of this video. So that's for fees, right? Stashaway charge you $1 per order, but really if you do dollar cost average, there's really zero fees from the second month onwards. Whereas Poems Unit Trust for Amundi, there's really $0. But I think one of the biggest misconception is the currency and whether you will be exposed to currency fluctuation. Because all these UCITS ETF like ISEC and CSPX, they are denominated in USD, which means that your SRS in SGD has to be converted at Stashaway FX spread of 0.32%. So there's a foreign conversion fee involved. And then for Poems Cash Plus, if you buy the Amundi unit trust, they are all denominated in SGD. So that means whatever SGD that is going into the portfolio will be invested fully into the SGD unit trust without any fluctuation in currency. So does that mean Poems Cash Plus Amundi Trust is better than Stashaway ETF Explorer? Now the factual answer is that whether it's an ETF in USD or unit trust in SGD, both of these funds are affected by the same foreign currency fluctuation because the underlying companies are similar. Whether they earn in USD or they earn in foreign currency, they are just reporting in the actual currency of the fund. So it doesn't mean that just because a Amundi unit trust is denominated in SGD, you will not suffer foreign currency exchange gain or loss. It is still subjected to foreign currency fluctuation, just that you don't see it. It's already translated into the net asset value, which is already big in the market value of the fund itself. So you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So to be clear, a money unit trust, even though it's SGD, it is still exposed to foreign currency because it is unhedged. Next up, we move on to expense ratio because this is one of the most factual things that you can compare. For S&P 500 on CSPX, it is 0.07% total expense ratio. Whereas for a money prime USA fund, it is 0.05%. So CSPX do seem a little more expensive than a money prime USA fund, correct? Then on the same comparison for world index, ISEC ETF is 0.20% total expense ratio, whereas a money index MSCI fund at 0.10% per annum, at 90%, at 10% a monthly emerging markets with expense ratio of 0.2%, the blended total expense ratio is 0.11%. So compare that to 0.20% on ISEC, Amundi is like almost half as cheap. But that's just one side of the equation. Because if you just compare expense ratio without talking about withholding tax impact, I think you're just having half the equation. Now remember that both CSPX and ISEC, they are domiciled in Ireland, which means they also enjoy 15% dividend withholding tax due to a favorable tax treaty instead of 30% withholding tax. Now, this is unlike a Amundi unit trust because they are domiciled in Luxembourg as a unit trust, not UCITS ETF. So they do suffer 30% dividend withholding tax, which is not 15%. So by investing into Ireland domiciled UCITS ETF, you are saving half the dividend withholding tax, which some of you think, all these funds, they don't pay much dividend, what? So what's there to save? But if you go to the deeper calculations, like the withholding tax impact of 15%, and you bake that into your annual tax track, you will then find out which one is the winner. And to give a too long-winded answer, UCITS ETF will win. But let's talk about something more behavioral and more personalized, and that is the user experience and user interface. Is it friendly for beginners or not? Now, Stashaway is more like a recent player entry to the market, and that also means they have a more modern interface on their mobile app compared to what Poems Cash Plus is using on Poems Mobile 3 mobile app. So the Poems mobile app is definitely functional. It just does what it does, but it is dated. It is not as user-friendly as what most people would expect. So I would say that Stashaway wins on this one because it is more modern and nicer to see. Now, performance tracking wise, Stashaway also has a better performance tracking model because, like I said, the interface is nicer. So it will be much nicer to see your performance compared to Poem's mobile app. There's really not much performance to track. It's just a simple cost versus current market value kind of thing. There are no like nice charts to show your performance, but it really just gets the job done. But to be fair, if we just talk about SRS investing, Endow's interface will beat these two apps hands down because they have like the very nice performance metrics. So why do I not add Endow's to the comparison? Because I myself don't use Endow's anymore because of cost reasons, and I'm willing to switch to a better platform if it is cheaper. So that goes to my Stashaway and Poems Cash Plus. Now, lastly, I want to talk about something more realistic, and that's the execution speed. How fast can your orders be placed and executed after your SRS funds have been deposited? Now, for Poems, my experience is that once you deposit the SRS funds within the same day before 3 p.m., it will be executed at the same day net asset value by the end of the day. When I say executed means that the price has been fixed on the same day closing value, but doesn't mean that you will see your positions immediately because it still takes around 3 work days for the funds to be deducted and settled and then the order to be placed, then executed, and you can finally see your positions on Poems by the 3rd working day. But for Stashaway, my experience is something quite different because when you initiate that deposit to Stashaway, firstly, it takes 1 work day for them to deduct the fund. Secondly, it takes another workday to convert from SGD to USD. Then on the following workday, then they will execute and place the trade. So all in all, it takes about 3 to 4 working days based on what Stashaway is providing. And this is kind of accurate based on my own personal experience. So if you want a faster execution based on the same day NAV or the next day NAV, I would say that Poems Cash Plus is faster. Okay, this is a factual thing. Stashaway just need to have more time to process the funds, maybe because it's a UCITS ETF and there's currency conversion involved. So it is a little bit more complicated. This is the cost that we have to accept, the waiting time. So if you forgot everything I said on this video, I already prepared a cheat sheet PDF that you can download on the coffee shop for free. Okay, this will highlight the main differences, which one is better, why are the fees, and I want to let you know that different platforms suit different people. So everyone may have a different opinion. And if you really enjoyed this video or you learned something from my cheat sheet, I would really appreciate it if you can help me click this IBKR link or scan this IBKR QR code so that every click I receive will pay a small commission to my channel. So thank you to those who have clicked or scanned the QR code, and I'll continue to do better content. So overall takeaway, Poems versus Stashaway, which one is better? Now, by now you should know the answer. Everyone taste and appetite is different. Some of you value like a better mobile user interface because that will encourage you to invest. Some of you don't care about mobile user interface, just care about the cost and execution speed. So it really varies from persons to persons, and everyone has a different answer and opinion on that. Now, what I can say is that I'm invested in both platforms. I started with Poems Cash Plus first when the Amandi Unit Trust was introduced on their platform, and when Stashaway ETF Explorer opened late last year, then I started investing some SRS into there as well. But if you look deeper at the underlying product, some of you may have a bias towards SGD. So you all will choose the Amandi Unit Trust because it's denominated in SGD. But some of you don't care about the domiciled currency. Some of you care about the overall cost and withholding tax impact. So that's where Stashaway will be a better platform for your SRS investments. So you see, there's no right or wrong answer. It really depends on what you really like or prefer. And in case you need to sign up for any of these platforms, I already have the referral links in my description where you can take a look. So after this video, I'm sure some of you still don't understand how to invest SRS or why is the SRS even important at all. So the previous time, I already did a full SRS related video, which you can check it out right here to really improve your knowledge and financial literacy on the supplementary retirement scheme. Check it out right here.